Hello, and welcome to the latest installment of Critics and Cars Getting Home. What are we talking about tonight?
We're talking about Scream 6. Now, if you feel, rather like I do, that we only had a Scream last year, you'd be absolutely right. We had Scream, which was actually Scream 5, but they didn't give it a number. But it was a very well-received requel. What's a requel, Doug?
Well, it's more than a sequel because it's also a reboot, and so you get the rules changing again. And so, so this is a bit different because we now have two Scream films in a row by the same filmmakers who made not only those, but also Ready or Not, a duo known as Radio Silence. And in fact, the best part of Ready or Not, Samara Weaving returns here in a scene which I will not spoil.
Yeah.
Which is, I suppose, part of the difficulty of
talking
this discussion,
about this film.
because
because all we can tell you is that there's a return of the young people who survived Scream are back.
We can call it Scream 5.
Okay, right. So the young people who survived Scream 5 are back in Scream 6. So there is some continuity there. There'll also be a few other sort of either familiar faces or references that people might enjoy.
Yeah, I mean, there's characters that return. There's one character that conspicuously does not return, and something only slightly less glossed over than Sylvester Stallone's disappearance from Creed 3.
From Creed 3, yeah.
She's not so spoiler alert, Neve Campbell is not in this movie or anywhere near this movie. She sends her love and says, give me proper contract negotiations next time and I might show up instead of underpaying me.
That's right. So, did you like the film or not? What did you think about it?
I mostly liked it. I liked it. I loved the beginning. The beginning...
do you mean the pre-credits beginning?
Yeah. Particularly
Very
the second
clever.
half of the pre-credits beginning, which really leaves you with a sense of this could go anywhere.
Yeah.
And, I mean, obviously the nature of a movie is it winnows down its possibilities as it goes on. But the first 10 minutes is just such an exhilaratingly unexpected... Well, initially quite expected, and then suddenly very unexpected set of events.
That's something that all the Screams do quite well, is subvert expectations, or at least kind of set it up that it's going to be tricksy. And, and these aren't spoilers, but, obviously, one of the things that I like a lot about the last couple of Screams is the self-referentialness and the fact that they refer back to all of the other, of course, in their universe, they're the stab movies, right?
Yes.
But the point is they'll go, but there were two killers here, but then there was just Scream 4, I think, where there's just the one killer. So there are various things that might be set up to happen, but you don't know which one they're going to go with, which, keeps it interesting for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I think one thing I felt during this one is that possibly the scale of this film, because this is Ghostface Takes Manhattan, essentially. It's set in New York, and that's, of course, a reference to the Friday the 13th 8, Jason Takes Manhattan, which they also get away with a soundtrack reference to. And if that's to be believed, that means in 2 installments we'll be in space as well from the Friday the 13th series. But I do feel that, even though it's Montreal for New York, I feel like maybe some of the bigger scale of it means that some of the precision filmmaking that was in Ready or Not or Scream 5, they don't have quite as much here. They save for a couple big scenes. Yeah. The bodega scene is a very well...
What's a bodega?
It's the convenience store that they go into. It's New York convenience store.
Yeah.
And then there's a subway scene in particular, which is brilliantly...
Right, there are some set pieces that do work well in terms of tension, work well in terms of expectations and subverting expectations and all that kind of thing. I would say I didn't mind any of the cast. Sometimes typical me. Sometimes I'll watch something and I'll go, I don't really like you. I don't care if you die or not.
Right.
Whereas with these guys, it was like, okay, I'm along for this ride, but I don't love any of them.
I have a soft spot for Jenna Ortega, who plays the younger sister of our lead.
Because I remember from the last film, she was very, very good. I remember you really rated her for that. But I kind of was a bit like, don't really care. But what I really do enjoy is Jasmine Savoy Brown, who is she's from the last film as well. She's also from Yellow Jackets, and I really like how her,
season 2 coming soon. Don't miss it.
I like how her nerdy film cinephile character is the one really who riffs on all of the tropes and how things are different. And there are always a couple of terrific scenes where she'll say, well, this is what we need to be looking out for because this is now blah blah blah, we're now a franchise and la la la. I quite like all that self-referential stuff.
And there's the nods to Letterboxd and
yes,
which got our local crowd. Those of you who don't know, Letterboxd is actually a New Zealand company, and at least one person who writes for them was in residence, possibly more.
But also, of course, people, nerdy cinephiles all around the world are on Letterboxd. I mean, I can guarantee you by the time we get home, there'll be some quiet time for Doug to update this film on his Letterboxd.
Yeah, but guys wearing Italian T-shirts for Four Flies and Grey Velvet, the Argento film and things like that. So all that kind of
all those in-jokey, well, not in, yes, they are.
And what did you think? So one character that does come back is Courtney Cox.
I hope that's not a spoiler. It was lovely to see her.
Yeah.
And for me, because they also joke about legacy characters and all that, and nostalgia. So they're very on the nose, actually, at making nods to our generation who were watching Scream when it first came out. So for me, is a real comfort in seeing, well, I mean, I don't mean to be actually uncharitable. Courtney's face is a little different from how it was. But it's Courtney. It is still her. So it is still Gail Weathers. And I like that.
And it makes sense for that character in the sense of being in the face of the news that, yes, if the plastic surgery is a little overdone, that's...
Sure. And they don't reference that or anything. No. That's just me. And I'm trying not to be snide about it. It's just a...
Atrophy? No.
I know, but it's just a thing. But,
I do think the trick with this all kind of anything is possible, any twist is possible and all of that, is that it, in a weird way, it lowers the stakes. It's kind of like... In a weird way, it's like where the Marvel movies are post Infinity War or Endgame or whichever it was. We're like, we'll kill half the world, and now we've reversed it. Yeah. And so it's kind of, anyone might die. Anything can happen. And it's like, well, then you're telling us not to invest, and we get it as a commentary. And there's moments where this creeps into being a really interesting, much deeper kind of thing about people's obsession with true crime. There's stuff about Reddit theories and conspiracy, but it just kind of it's a bit peripheral.
Yes, it is.
But which is because it's focused on being what a Scream movie is, which is twists and turns. And
sitting there thinking the whole time, is it that person? Is it that person? Is it that person?
Yeah.
And you know how, and again, not a spoiler, you know how in Scream there's always a motive. There's always an MO. So whoever the killer is going to be related in some way. And so, but I don't get as far as, well, actually, I suppose actually in the back of my mind, I do think, well, if it's X, then Y? Who might they be in some way related to? And it's diverting enough. I did not think that this one was as good as Scream 5. And I mean, people will go because I think the thing with the Scream movies is people will go because you never know what you're going to get. So you don't know whether actually this one is going to be terrific or not.
I think Scream has moved into franchise territory in the same way that, and I mean...
the Fast movies.
Yeah, that it's like, we're going to be able to deliver at a consistent level where you won't be disappointed, but you also you won't be too surprised.
Yeah.
You'll have momentary surprises, but ultimately you'll be like, yep, that was a Scream movie.
Yeah.
So
it doesn't break anything for me at all. And beforehand I sort of thought, this is probably a 3-star-ish kind of film. I would probably only go 2.5 or 3 for me.
Right.
Can I just say, because this is our video, I this time felt quite uncomfortable with the high degree of killing and wanton violence, and I get that that's what this is about, but it really has got wanton now. Like, it really has become overkill in my mind. And I think, why are we watching somebody who volunteers that she stabbed someone 22 times and things like that? And
there's a lot of stuff edging around trauma and all that stuff, and that's quite glib about what it means to have killed somebody.
Yes.
That's put back to back with, there's a scene early on which is very much about, this is what the reality of what it means to kill somebody is, and I don't think it really knows what to do with that, and so it just moves to the next thing.
Yeah.
And that's...
And it's quite gross in that regard, actually. It's...
I feel like it's sort of a 50-50. It's like, it's not like so gross as to be the ultimate splatter movie or whatever.
No.
But it's too gross to be an intelligent commentary on it and exist for... It's a bit of cake both ways.
Yes, it is.
But, I would be lying if I said I didn't watch things that were a lot more reprehensible as well. So, I'm probably at 3.5, which I was on the last one, and
that's more than me, ladies and
I'll probably be on the next one. They're good junk food, and with, and every once in a while it's like eating something strawberry flavored. It's like, is it actually strawberry? Not really, but I kind of like the taste anyway.
Good analogy.
On that note,
Thanks for
see you
watching.
next time.